Hello and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Smart Impressions. And I'm Rachel. I'm your host, and we're going to talk about some good stuff today. It's called Audible Senses and Emotional Regulations. And we are going to tap into some information that you are going to just absolutely love with one of my guests, Mr. Leopold Ajami, who is a public speaker and ethical persuasion coach. Thanks for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
So nice to have you here. And so I want to start the conversation with the idea that majority of our listeners today are high-level executives. They are top leaders in positions. And if you are a leader with a high value of worth, but you are undervalued in your organization, in your industry, then this conversation's for you. So let's get the conversation started, shall we? Leopold, I know you've been doing this for years. Tell me, what made you start this journey?
Two things, really. The first one is I realized that there's some kind of an injustice when it comes to top-level people who are achievers, high performance, CEOs, despite of the common narrative. They are actually doing so well, innovators, right, entrepreneurs. They're doing so well, but as you put it, their worth is here, but their voice is here, right? And so I said, I can help with that. I learned different skills and integrated them in a way that could help them. Mainly, I built this system that I call the PHC system. And it's a system that integrates philosophy, creativity, and communication. So you put these three together, now you have the foundational skills to become a communicator, a speaker that is different from whatever you're hearing every day. So that was the key motivator. I wanted to show their worth.
Amazing. Well, there's no doubt that words hold extremely a heavy weight depending on how people say it. I mean, from the tone of voice, from the way you hear people's voice to the way they deliver and the tone, right? And so you're helping people with with this expertise to help elevate them, right? And how are you doing that? What are some of the tools that you use to do that?
So when it comes, if you think about public speaking, so here's something. When you think about the voice, most of the time people think that how I'm speaking, whether I'm posing, what's my tone, right? And all of these, we package them under delivery usually. And to me, delivery is the last stage of the process. It's still important, but it's the last stage of the process. The problem is, if you get trained in delivery, then you're not really investigating your content, your structure, and you're not getting any better. Only actually you're getting more anxious because now you're thinking about, should I move my hands? Should I raise my voice? All of these are important, but it's the last stage. I like to think about communication, specifically public speaking, in 4 stages. The first one, I will lay them down, then we can explore them. The first one is discovery, then structure, then content, then delivery. So discovery, structure, content, delivery. I can unpack them if you want.
Cool, let's unpack them. Why not? We're talking about it,
Yeah. Well, simply put, discovery is the most important part, where you actually look inward and say, why am I speaking about this topic, right? Suppose you're a leader, you want to talk about leadership, let's say. You want to investigate why you are so interested in leadership, and even more important than why, what is leadership to you, right? So all that kind of discovery, and that's what coaching is all about, where we dig deeper to uncover stories, insight, your worldview about that specific topic. The second process is structure, and I like to think about structure like playing the piano or playing any instrument. Like you have this set of notes from do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, right? But then you have to learn how to structure them, because each note will trigger a certain point. It can be emotional or intellectual. If you don't know how to structure your speech, and I think the reason why we have stage fright is because we don't know how to structure our speech, right? So there's a specific structure you should follow. And then we move into content. So now you know which note to trigger, right? Then you move into content and say, okay, that's what I want to talk about. That's my content. And after you do that, now you're ready to learn how to deliver it, how to use your voice, how to do all of that. So this simple journey shows you that, the way I put it, to be a voice or to design your voice, you actually need to uncover your deepest emotions and ideas, and then the voice will follow.
And you got to script it. I mean, I always say, like, planning is important, and I love this. I mean, I love and hate it at the same time. This is like skills, soft skills that people need, everybody needs. This is really something that, if you are listening today, I invite you to join in the conversation, ask a question. This is stuff that we are lacking in school, in the education system, and this is where we have professionals like Leopold helping in this journey to help professionals really excel and elevate what their value. Right? And this is what I love to do. And Smart Impressions, why we're doing it, so you can make a smart impression when people meet you. So let's keep going, because it's just so good. When it comes to this structured, we talked about briefly about that sound, and you mentioned it's the last part of the journey, right? It's the delivery that's kind of the end. But, you know, persuasion and ethical persuasion is something that you've been working really heavy on. Can you talk to me a little bit more about what is it with the persuasion aspect that really you gravitate to?
I love it. I love it. And I recommend everyone who's listening to go and read Influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini. It's a fantastic book. It's first written in 1984, and it's been the foundational guide for the science of persuasion. And the way he puts it is ethical persuasion, because persuasion can be very, very manipulative, right? And it's been used throughout history for good and for ill, right? And so what I love about it is it helps you become a designer of decisions, right? You are making decisions every day in your life. In fact, there's been a study that showed you're doing about 40% every day, you're persuading. 40% every day, you're persuading someone to say yes to you. Right? So you need to learn the science behind it so you can become a better persuader. So people will say yes to you, to your ideas, to your requests, what have you. But also, you need it in order to arm yourself from manipulators, because so many people use it for ill, right? So yeah, we can talk if you want what makes it ethical, but that's what really gravitates me towards it. It's a life-changing science.
Well, it's also clearly one of your values. You know, I wouldn't put it past. I think if you do value being ethical and doing it the right way, I mean, how does authenticity play in that role, you know, in that relationship here?
When it comes to persuasion?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, think about it this way. When you want to persuade someone, the first step is you want to build a relationship with them. Right? You want to connect with them. They have to like you. You have to give them something, whether tangible or intangible. So this is very important, because it shows you that if you're not authentic, or if you're trying to cheat or hide something, then it won't be a long-term relationship, right? You're going to be exposed. And so an important aspect of being ethical is to be honest, is to be authentic, whatever we define the word authentic. That's another topic.
Next show.
So yeah, yeah.
The next show we'll talk about authenticity, but yeah, I think you know, with this show, it's all about this emotional regulation, whether it be internally versus how you impact another. And I think with ethical persuasion, what are some of the ways that people can regulate or at least control that narrative?
In terms of their emotions?
Well, everyone's going to respond emotionally, right?
Well, a couple of days ago, a giant passed away, Daniel Kahneman, and he was also a behavior scientist. And he explained the difference between system 1 and system 2 in our minds. And he's, you know, in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, he says, System one is fast and quick and sometimes emotional, right? And it's always looking for shortcuts. And that's how we behave 90% of the time. We see something, want to behave emotionally towards it. We want to have that shortcut. And system two is really conscious, it requires focus and effort. And so this is the system where you need to use in order to better decide whatever it is that you're deciding. So most of the time we function under system one. And so you need that science to tell you, okay, sometimes you need to persuade people using system one, but also you need to give yourself and others time so they think and find reasons why your product or your offer or your relationship is better or different than any other. Make sense?
Absolutely.
So emotions are... Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to refer back to sales. It's called nurturing. 80% of leads are not ready to convert. You got to nurture them, so they need time. And you're suggesting exactly that same thing. It's time. It's time, and you can't speed that up.
Time and method, because Rachel, thinking requires a method, right? And most of the time we take it for granted that I'm now thinking about a solution, but do I have a framework? Do I have a method? And I think that makes a big difference.
Well, no doubt, this is your expertise, is your playing field. And I want to invite you to share a little bit more of your knowledge by giving our audience around 3 tips that you think would be something that is so important to how they create that method or think about what actually they say before they say it, right? What would be those 3 tips?
I'm going to call them the 3 Ps. Okay. The first is what I say, give them a piece of you. So the first P for peace. And by that, I mean, share always when you're speaking, share something personal, share something that you've experienced, that you've observed. No matter your title, no matter your position, people want a piece of you. And when they get that piece, they're willing to give you back their attention or whatever it is that you're asking them to do, right? So that's the first P. The second P is give them a problem to pursue. So most of the times we're always focusing on the solution, but actually what we need nowadays is to be obsessed with a certain problem and advocate for that problem. And I can't tell you, Rachel, how many times I speak with people and with leaders, and most of the times they're like, I have this business, it's working, and I assume I know what's the problem. But they're not doing the investigation to find new problems worth solving, right? So that's the second P. And the third P is, which is the most important, I think, is you gotta give them a new point of view. So for example, you said authenticity, and that's why I told you it depends what you say. Because if you look now on LinkedIn, it's like authentic leader. But what exactly do you mean by that, right? And so we need, in order for you to become a thought leader, you need to have a unique and not better, but different point of view, right? And I can give you examples if you want, but those are the three Ps: peace, problem, and point of view.
I love that. And I do want an example from you, because I want my listeners to know, to understand. And I think examples are the best way to really let it resonate. These are the storytelling ways that we can tell others. What do you got?
Yeah. So think about, let's say, Uber or Airbnb, let's say, right? I love these examples, or even Netflix. I love these examples because they looked at the market and they said, wait a minute, I don't wanna disrupt the taxi industry, right? Like, it already exists, and that's the essence of strategy. It already exists. I wanna ask myself, what could be true, right? What can I create something completely new that still function in this industry, but actually create a new industry? And so Uber, they created a new point of view, a new worldview about what is it to go from point A to point B, right? Same for Airbnb. And they did that because they elevated the problem, right? So if you look again at Uber, they were advocating for the problem. Netflix, for example, they were advocating for the problem that I don't want to have an appointment to watch my show. I want to just stream it, You see? So this is a new problem that they advocated, and now it's on your level of awareness, the problem. And so now you didn't think about it before Netflix, right? And also they all give you a piece of them, right? So whenever you see the founders talking, they always tell you how much struggle they face. For example, Airbnb, for investors to accept their idea, because it was completely different from what is accepted. So these 3 Ps are so powerful, and you see them in every, good innovation.
Wow. I feel like we can go on for an hour, Leopold. There's so much more to tap into, and I love what you're doing, because this is exactly, like I said, it's stuff we're missing out on the education system. So we got to go, we got to hunt, we got to find, and I'm so glad I get to share your journey, your expertise, and your knowledge with our community. So thank you so much. I'm grateful to have you here today.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. And any question, I'm happy to answer after even the show.
Awesome. Well, I know you're on all the platforms. We're streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So if you have questions for Leopold and you haven't had a minute to jump in the conversation now, do it at any time, because now it's online. It's there forever, and we're not going anywhere. So I'm bringing you the best experts to help you create the best version of you with smart impressions so you can impact the world. So leaders, here's your tool, here's your trick. It's Leopold to help you elevate. So thank you again for being here, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, successful day. See you next week.
Thank you, Richard.